He is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of all creatures. In him everything in heaven and on earth was created, whether things visible or invisible, whether thrones or dominations, principalities or powers. All were created through him and for him. Now I know I've used that quote before for you, but it's the one sentence that has just meant so much to me this year. Everything was created through him and for him. And that's where we are. We are in this world, we're in this group, and it came into being through him. This group came into being through him and for him. Everything that is for him. And the great reality that we are in is that we can experience what that means for him. We can experience the him. In other words, can we experience God? And I think that that is the essence of the contemplative life. It is the essence of the mystical life. Now there's a great deal of confusion and a great deal of misunderstanding and about the word mystic. It brings up such funny images for some people. It's not too popular a word in the monastic context, because we're simple monks, and we're not trying to be mystics. But in reality, that's what we are. And in reality, that is what you are, who you are. You are mystics because in some way God has blessed you and given you in some way an experience of himself. In some way, the Holy Spirit has let himself be known in you, and you became attracted to the contemplative life. You would not be here if that did not happen in some way in your life. And you would not have written this document that you have just finished putting together. It is proof that in some way God has touched you and you have had some experience of him. Now, today I want to talk about this mysticism, but I want to begin by telling you something that I found in Time magazine. After the Pope's visit, Time magazine did a cover story. There it is, a couple of weeks ago. And it says in this story something that I don't think anybody else has picked up about Pope Francis. This is it. His Argentine roots in the increasingly charismatic Latin American church and his personal inclination to the mystical make him attractive for nearly 1 in 7 Americans who are religious without a particular affiliation. They picked up on the reality that Francis is mystical. He has mystical inclinations. He is a mystic. And it's very clear from that encyclical that he wrote on the environment that he is that. because this environment is talking about, so much talking about the contemplative way of looking at things, the awe of looking at things in nature, as he says, pick up a leaf and look at it, really see what is there. And then he says the awe that you experience at looking at nature, that awe was created by God for you to experience this marvel. It is the awe that brings you to the experience of God. He put the awe there so that you could experience him, And that's what Francis is saying in this encyclical. The awe itself of you looking at nature is a religious experience. Now, for many, many years, for centuries, we have made that distinction between the natural and the supernatural. And we've talked about this before. And Pope Francis is showing us that what we used to call as a purely natural thing, looking at nature, was not supernatural. It was purely natural. But as de Lubac says, no one has ever lived in a natural world. There is no natural world that exists. Everything was created by God through his unfolding of the universe for centuries, millenniums. All of that is all in God's creation, and all of that is within God. There's nothing that is outside of God. It is all part of his creation, and it is all of us are going to a supernatural end, which is union with him in heaven. We are all headed in that way. There is no other way, there's no other end for humanity. There's no happy hunting ground for the Indians. There's no middle place for the Buddhists, the Hindus. We're all going to the same place, and that place is union with him, which is a supernatural reality. God is this supernatural reality, and that is where we are going, to be in union with him in heaven. And everything that is on the way to that reality. So it's all, you might say, it's all part of this heaven, this earth, this heaven. Everything that is created is all part of his plan, his divine providence that is taking us there. And there's no other. There's no other end, there's no other world, there's no other thing. So the looking at nature is a supernatural reality, because what's created by God is all sacred. And the awe that we experience in looking at this sacred reality is a religious experience. And that's what he makes it very clear in his encyclical. And I would like to share with you a few words from Pope Benedict to explain how he experienced this reality of being in God. He says that from the time that he was made Pope, every day he experienced the divine presence within him. The Holy Spirit, you might say, took over his being, his body, so that he always experienced the divine presence. And that's a mystical grace. To experience the divine presence is a grace from the Holy Spirit. And you cannot produce this There's no way that you can produce an experience of God. No matter how hard you try or no matter what you do, you cannot produce an experience of God. And St. Teresa tells her sisters, if you crunch up your body or you squeeze yourself or whatever you want to do to try to produce this reality, you cannot. It is a gift from God, and he gives it whenever, to whomever he wishes. And it's obvious from the reality of the popes that we have had, that the Holy Spirit does take over somebody's life. And they are able to tell us what this experience is like. When you think of it, that's a tremendous, the Pope is a tremendous reality. And he is asked to be another Christ in a very special way, to be the vicar of Christ, and to be able to extend through time and space the gifts of the Spirit, the gifts of God, the gifts of that Jesus wants the world to have right now. It's the living reality of a human being receiving from God the gifts of the Spirit to give to the church right now. That is a supernatural reality. That is a mystical reality. That is a contemplative reality. And Pope Benedict lived in that reality, and now Pope Francis is living in the reality. Now, of course, all the popes have had that gift. And some are able to talk about it, and some don't. But Pope Benedict did in the very, very last talk that he gave, the last audience that he gave before he resigned. He talked about this, and he says that I had the consolation of God all the time that I was Pope. I was aware of the Holy Spirit within me. Now, I truly believe that Pope Benedict, Cardinal Ratzinger, was in a depression before he became Pope. Now, this is just my theory. I have no one has ever confirmed this. I've never told many people that this is what I think. But I think that Pope John Paul was this loving father who loved the world, and he showed that love to the world. And poor Cardinal Ratzinger was asked to do all the nasty jobs, being in charge of the congregation of the doctrine of the faith. He was asked to take care of all these unpleasant realities that are in the church. And I think that it weighed down on him, so that when he gave interviews and when he talked in his writings, he seemed to be depressed because everything was all pretty dark. But then he was made Pope, and he just blossomed. As soon as he made Pope, his whole persona changed. And the first thing he did was write this magnificent encyclical on love. Who ever expected Joseph Ratzinger to write an encyclical on love? And then to express love and to talk about love in a way that I have never seen done by anyone in the Vatican. It was a very, very, very beautiful, realistic expression of love, saying that love is everything from eros to agape. And all of those elements are in true love. So that we have this document now, written by this man now, who is under the Holy Spirit, and has expressed to us that the reality of all love is beautiful, is a gift from God, and we can love and appreciate and give us new insight into love, because this is now what he's receiving from the Holy Spirit. This is now what he wants to tell the church at this time. Now, we have a new pope, and we have this man who is filled, the only word we can use, he's just filled with the Holy Spirit. And his visit here to the United States was so helpful for so many people. They were so impressed with him. He's a Jesuit, so that means he's highly educated. It means that he's a brilliant man, a scholar, but he's also a human being, and he has all the richness of a well-rounded, beautiful human being. He too has changed since he has been Pope. The Jesuits tell us that when he was down in the provincial of the Jesuits, he was pretty rigid and pretty strict. And they will tell you that once they made him Pope, once he became Pope and was blessed in that office, his whole personality has blossomed. So he's a real father. He's a real warm human being. And at the same time, he's very, very, very much aware of the graces that God is giving him now. So he has written this encyclical on the environment, on this creation of ours. And in the very first sentence of the section on the joy, it's called Joy and Peace. In the first sentence he says, Christian spirituality presupposes an alternative understanding of the quality of life and encourages a prophetic and contemplative lifestyle. Well, if that isn't talking to us, I don't know what could be. You are invited by God to lead an alternative lifestyle, a prophetic and contemplative lifestyle. And what does that mean? It just means that you, by God's grace, have been called to be prophets and to be contemplatives. What does it mean to be a prophet? Prophet means just speaking for God, speaking of God, speaking about the things of God. So the prophet is not a man who tells the future. The prophet is primarily a man who speaks of God. And that is what you do even without words. In your own workplace, in your own families, in your own life, you speak of God just by the very